What I didn't realise, of course, being the schmuck that I am, that it was going live on television.
She had her, I'm sure, her periods of quite, desolate behaviour and desolate feelings because, you go any place you go, there's somebody following you with a camera, and that's very hard.
Are they in part to blame for this tragedy?
Of course they are.
They are. What can be done about it? Any solutions?
Elton John, who is 77 years old now, just told everyone a big secret about Princess Diana's death.
Creative.
Listen, I get up at 7 o'clock in the morning to get here, and I'm f***ing person leaves my f***ing clothes in the car. What the f*** is going on?
People have been interested in what really happened that terrible night for years.
Yeah, I know. But I didn't realise I was saying it was going all over the world.
When Princess Diana died in 1997, the world was shocked. She was known for her beauty and her work with charities. Her death led to a lot of talk and ideas. Now, Diana's close friend Elton John has shared some new information. Things that many people thought but didn't know for sure. In this video, we'll talk about what Elton John recently said and how it changes how we think about what happened when Princess Diana died. Elton John is a British singer and songwriter who was born Reginald Kenneth Dwight in 1947. He is known for having a unique voice and a theatrical style. During the 1960s, he began making music and became famous for hits like Your Song and Rocket Man. He has put out more than 50 songs and sold more than 300 million records around the world. People love Elton's lively stage personality, which is a mix of showmanship and real emotion. He has been wowing people for decades with his flashy clothes and high-energy shows. Aside from music, Elton is known for his charity work, especially the Elton John AIDS Foundation, which he started in 1992. This group has raised a lot of money for HIV/AIDS support and study. He's not just important in the music world, he's also a fashion icon and a strong voice for important social problems. Because he is honest about his problems and fights for LGBTQ+ rights, he is a well-known person in music, politics, and other areas of society. Princess Diana was married to Charles, Prince of Wales, for the first time. She was born Diana Frances Spencer in 1961. She became famous all over the world for being kind and helping others. Diana cared deeply about many good causes, such as helping people with AIDS and people who had been hurt by landmines. Her kindness made her a well-liked person all over the world. It was important for people to pay attention to certain problems, and Princess Diana's work did that by shedding light on causes that were too often ignored. She used her fame to support these causes and bring them to the attention of people all over the world. Diana was admired all over the world for being genuinely kind and able to connect with people on a human level. She was a well-liked figure because she gave a lot to charity and was often seen in public with her kids. Diana's public image was shaped a lot by the media. Many people loved her, but her personal life was often hard because she was always being watched and talked about in the media. In spite of this, her acts of kindness and charity still inspire people today. People remember Diana not only as a princess, but also as someone whose charitable work will last forever. Now that we've talked about each person's background, let's talk about how Elton John and Princess Diana met and became friends. What kind of friendship did they have, and how did it grow? Prince Charles and Princess Diana met for the first time in 1981, not long after Diana got married and became the Princess of Wales. At a party, someone introduced them and they got along right away. They both loved singing and helping others very much. Diana thought Elton was talented and had a good heart, and Elton was impressed by how warm and honest Diana was. Their bond turned into a strong friendship very quickly. Diana often went to Elton's shows, and the two of them were often seen together at different social events. The things that really brought them together were their shared desire to use their power for good and their shared hobbies. Diana liked that Elton understood and supported her, and Elton liked that Diana could connect with people from all walks of life. They had a lot of fun, respect, and happy times together as friends. They had fun together by going to charity galas, private parties, and even trips. In 1987, Diana and her husband went to a charity ball given by Elton John. It was one of the best times in their friendship, She showed her support for the cause by being there, which helped raise a lot of money for Elton's AIDS Foundation. They told each other how much they loved and admired each other all the time, in public and in private. This made their relationship stronger in the eyes of everyone. During the time they were friends, Elton John and Princess Diana were often seen at public events together. Whenever they did, it made the news. It was the Red Cross Ball in 1989, where they were all together, that made it stand out. When Diana went to Elton's charity events, she always got great reviews and helped bring attention to important issues. The first fundraiser for the Elton John AIDS Foundation in 1992 was another important event. Diana's attendance at this event was one of the best parts. Her support not only made more people aware of the event, but it also showed how much she cared about ending the HIV/AIDS crisis. A lot of the time, when they went out in public, the media talked about how close they were and the causes they supported. The people and the media mostly liked that they were friends and liked how they used their power to support charitable work. But because they were so close, people were interested and made guesses. The media sometimes closely watched how they interacted, which made for shocking news. In spite of this, Elton John and Princess Diana kept their eyes on their shared goals and kept helping each other. Their connection was a strong example of how famous people can use their fame to make the world a better place. Princess Diana's life was way too short. On August 31st, 1997, she died in a car accident in Paris. When Princess Diana and her friend Dodi Fayed left the Ritz Hotel, they were in a good mood. They had no idea that their night would soon turn sad. Paparazzi were chasing them with all their might, determined to catch every move they made. As Diana, Dodi, and their driver, Henry Paul, sped off in a Mercedes-Benz, Henry had a hard time getting away from the reporters who were always following them. The events of August 31st, 1997, happened very quickly but changed the world for a long time. Their car crashed in the Pont de l'Alma tunnel while they were speeding through the streets of Paris. The Mercedes lost control and hit a concrete wall very hard. The effect was terrible. Dodi Fayed and Henri Paul were killed right away, and that was the sad end of their lives. Diana was seriously hurt and was taken to the Pitié-Salpêtrière hospital right away. Even though doctors and nurses did everything they could, she died a few hours later from her injuries. The world was shocked and in deep sadness. When word of the crash got out quickly, it caused a media frenzy like never seen before. Live updates were shown on TVs all over the world, and newspapers, radio stations, and websites were busy with news stories, rumors, and emotional tributes. As people realized how terrible the loss was, they were filled with shock and grief. Diana, the Princess of Wales, was more than just a royal figure. She was a symbol of kindness and hope around the world. Her untimely death shocked people all over the world and touched hearts that went beyond countries. The heavy media coverage showed how deeply millions of people were saddened and interested in learning more about what happened. As people tried to make sense of the terrible loss, they looked closely at every part of the accident, from the people who were involved to the exact details of what happened. The strong media coverage of Princess Diana's death did more than just pique people's interest. It made them want answers and held people responsible. The world still wasn't able to fully understand what happened after a while. People felt very sad when Diana, Princess of Wales, died, and her memory continued to inspire and affect people today. This terrible event was a powerful warning of how fragile life is and how strong human connections are. The death of Princess Diana caused a lot of sadness around the world. Everyone was sad about her death, and millions of people came together in places around the world to pay their respects at vigils and memorials. In London, people were leaving flowers and words for the dead on the streets around Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace. The unusual sadness in the public showed how much Diana meant to so many people. Diana was very close to Elton John, and he was heartbroken when she died. He played a changed version of the song "Candle in the Wind," which he wrote for Marilyn Monroe at her funeral. Millions of people were moved by this new version, which was a tribute to Diana. It went on to become one of the best-selling songs of all time. A lot of other famous people and public figures also spoke out about their sadness, and millions of people around the world watched the live broadcast of Diana's funeral. The event focused on Diana's story and the impact she had on the world during her lifetime. The outpouring of sadness showed how deeply she connected with people around the world, and that connection lasted even after she died. The heartfelt replies from Elton John and others showed how much many people have lost after Princess Diana's death. Elton John was one of the people who was most affected. His public tributes and comments showed how sad he was. In the days after Princess Diana's sad death, Elton John was deeply affected and gave his first public tribute right away. The funeral for Diana was on September 6, 1997, and he sang a special version of his song, Candle in the Wind. The song was written for Marilyn Monroe in 1973, but it was changed to honor Diana's life and memory. Everyone will never forget Elton's show. The words were changed to show how Diana affected the world and how painful it is for everyone to lose her. The tribute was very moving because of how he said it and how somber the funeral was. The song became a worldwide hit very quickly because it spoke to people's sadness over Diana's death. A huge amount of good feedback was given on the tribute. People who liked and didn't like the show both said it was sincere and a fitting tribute to Diana. The song's huge popularity, it topped charts all over the world, showed how much people cared about Diana. Concerns were raised, though, by some reviewers about how commercializing the song might take away from how serious the tragedy was. Even though these things were said, most people agreed that Elton John's tribute to Diana was a meaningful way to remember her memory and bring comfort to millions of people during this very sad time. Over the course of his life, Elton John has never stopped thinking about Princess Diana and the close friendship they had. He has continued to talk about how he feels and what he thinks about the terrible event in many interviews and public appearances. As time has gone on, Elton's thoughts on their connection have grown, giving us a fuller picture. In an interview in 2010, Elton John was honest about how Diana's death affected him personally. It was very hard for him to come to terms with her death, and he talked about how deeply sad he felt. Elton made it clear that Diana was more than just a famous person. She was also a close friend, and her death left a big hole in his life. Her death also had a long effect on his charitable work, inspiring him to keep doing the things that they both loved. Elton has talked a lot about how the media played a part in Diana's sad death. He has been very open about his dislike of the paparazzi and how their close attention led to the bad things that happened that night. His comments often touch on bigger topics, like the responsibility of the media and how important it is to keep people's privacy safe. Over the years, Elton has remembered Diana by taking part in charity events and talking about how she has had a lasting impact on his life. He talks a lot about how Diana made his life and the world a better place, which shows that she still has a special place in his heart. His constant compliments to her show how much he still loves and respects her. Now that he is 77 years old, Elton John has shared a new, important thought about Princess Diana's death. In a recent interview, he said that he has had doubts for a long time about some parts of that terrible night that have not been talked about in public. Elton said that some information about what happened before Diana's death was either kept secret or not fully shared. This made him think of unanswered questions that have been bothering him for years. In private talks with close friends and family, Elton John has said that he doesn't believe the official story of Princess Diana's death in a car accident. He has said that he thinks the official story is missing pieces or not true, and he has questioned both the government and media accounts of what happened. This news is especially shocking because Elton hasn't been one to publicly question the official story before. Elton's statement has important effects. It not only gives us a look into his own questions, but it also gets people interested in what happened when Diana died. Because Elton said he wasn't sure, it has led to more speculation and discussion. People see what he said as a direct challenge to the story that has been told so far, which has led to new calls for more research into the case. The people and the media have had strong and varied reactions. A lot of people are shocked by Elton John's claims, which go against what most people think about Diana's death. The media have talked a lot about what he said, which has led to a lot of conversation. Some people see Elton's statements as a brave attempt to find the truth, because they think that the fact that he is willing to question the official story brings up important questions about openness and the need for full exposure. Supporters say that his ideas could help us understand the terrible things that happened that night in a clearer and more true way. Many commentators are skeptical about Elton John's latest admission, which wasn't accepted by everyone. Some people say that what he said is based more on his own feelings than on facts. They think it's important not to jump to conclusions or make his words sound worse than they are. The media has shown this split. Some sites have focused on how shocking Elton's news was, while others have stressed the need for more research and information. The most recent thing Elton John said is very different from what he was saying before. Before, he wasn't as open about talking about the facts of Diana's death. He often focused on honoring her memory instead of asking questions about how she died. Some see his newfound openness as a sign of his long-lasting grief and a desire to talk about things that haven't been fixed. The news from Elton John has renewed interest in Princess Diana's death and led to new debates about how true the official story is. People and the media have had a lot of different responses to this terrible event. They have supported more investigations, doubts about Elton's intentions, and calls for a more in-depth look at the facts. Recent words by Elton John have huge effects on how we think about Princess Diana's sad death. His public doubts and comments that some details may have been kept from the public have brought up new questions about her death. This new information has brought up old questions and stirred up new ones, showing how complicated and mysterious the events of that terrible night still are. The news from Elton John has caused a stir by calling into question the official story of Princess Diana's death. This has caused people to look at the facts of the case again. This new information could change how people think about what happened before Diana died. People who used to believe the official story might be questioning whether it's true now. This could lead to more calls for openness and a more thorough investigation. Concerns from Elton John might lead to calls for a fresh look at the events and witnesses' accounts if they are taken seriously. This could change how history records and remembers Diana's death. If new proof comes to light or public opinion changes, the widely accepted version of the tragedy could be changed. This would have an effect on how future generations see Diana's death and how it affected media and celebrity culture. Elton John's words also bring up bigger questions about trust and responsibility when dealing with private data. They bring up worries about how information is handled and shared with the public. These problems become more clear when we think that some information might have been hidden or skewed. Many people have responded to what Elton John said. His supporters see his statement as a brave step toward finding the truth and appreciate that he was willing to question the official story. They think that his close relationship with Diana and public image give his doubts more weight, which makes his comments an important addition to the ongoing discussion about the case. People who agree with Elton John's views say that they bring up important issues about accountability and openness. They say that his statement shows that the facts of Princess Diana's death need to be looked into more thoroughly. These people think that Elton John's decision to question the official story is a very important step toward justice and a more true record of history. However, a lot of people don't believe Elton John's worries are real. Some people think that what he said might have had more to do with his own feelings than with facts. Critics warn that his words should not be taken as clear proof of any wrongdoing or cover-up. They say that Elton John's comments might not seem like a reliable addition to the investigation if there isn't any new proof. Some people are also worried that focusing too much on Elton John's confession could make other important parts of Princess Diana's life seem less important. Some people are worried that this ongoing debate could take away from the important role Diana played in helping others through her charitable and social work. They are worried that the talk will take away from her amazing work with AIDS patients and people who have been through landmines. This work set a new bar for how famous people can use their power for good. Princess Diana is known as a beloved person who changed the world for good. Her memory lives on through the good things she did for society and the charity work she did. People admire her kindness and her steadfast dedication to helping those in need. Diana's work with AIDS patients and people who had been hurt by landmines brought important problems to the public's attention and changed many people's lives in profound ways. Her charitable work set a new standard for how famous people can use their fame to help others. This will make sure that her memory continues to inspire and uplift. People looked up to Princess Diana because she was so involved with the people she helped and truly cared about them. People and groups all over the world are still inspired by her kindness and hard work. In her honor, many charities and foundations have been set up to carry on her work to make people's lives better and bring attention to important problems. People are still thinking about Diana a lot. A lot of films, books, and news stories talk about her life and work. Her memory lives on through memorials and events held in her honor. Her style, kindness, and dedication to helping others have become defining signs of her lasting impact. Princess Diana is known for more than just being a princess. She is also seen as an example of kindness and progress. Through her non-profit work, she left a mark that will live on in public life and affect future generations. It's clear that public people have an impact on historical stories and legacies. What famous people like Elton John say can have a huge impact on how people remember events and people. People who are well known who talk about a historical event can give new views and bring out different parts of the story. Elton John has had a big impact on Princess Diana's memory. His public honors and private thoughts on Diana have changed how people remember her and how her life and death affected them. By talking about his friendship with Diana and how he feels about her death, Elton John has helped people learn more about her life and impact. The latest things Elton John said about Princess Diana have made people interested in and talking about her life and death again. When a famous person like Elton John says something shocking, it often makes people look into things again and think about what happened in the past. His comments have brought up new questions and led to more in-depth research, making sure that Diana's legacy stays a hot topic of talk. Personal stories from famous people can have a big impact on how history is told and how people remember memories. Elton John's thoughts on Diana have brought up unanswered questions and pushed for a more in-depth look at her life and death. This shows how well-known people can leave behind lasting memories. Elton John, Princess Diana, and George Michael all work together to help people in need. Their combined efforts, especially in the fight against HIV/AIDS, had a big effect and still motivate people to make progress today. In the days after Princess Diana died, Elton John's honor at her funeral was one of the most moving things that happened. Elton John sang a changed version of his song, Candle in the Wind, which was first written for Marilyn Monroe on September 6, 1997. Candle in the Wind, 1997, the new version, was made to celebrate Diana's life and work. The words, which start with "Goodbye England's Rose," showed how sad the country was and honored Diana's kind heart. Elton John's moving ode to Princess Diana at her funeral became a powerful sign of grief around the world. The new version of Candle in the Wind, 1,997 inches, touched people all over the world deeply, reflecting both his own loss and the sadness of millions of people. The song's popularity not only honors Diana's memory, but it also raised money for her favorite charities, which made her even more determined to help others after she died. Diana's influence can still be seen in Elton John's relationships with the British royal family, especially his relationships with Diana's boys, Prince William and Prince Harry. Both princes have carried on their mother's charitable work, and Elton John has been very helpful, especially in Prince Harry's work for mental health and other causes. Their friendship is clear in both private and public settings, like when Elton John performed at the reception for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's wedding in 2018. Diana's kindness and devotion will live on through Elton John's relationship with Princess Diana and his meetings with the royal family. Elton John's salute to Diana and continued support for her causes show how her kindness and service have touched many people, including famous people. Elton John's music and charitable work make sure that Diana's memory lives on and continues to encourage people